after her victory in Japan's general election this February. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi received this congratulation from President Donald Trump. On Truth Social, the American president wished the Japanese leader success in her peace through strength agenda and reminded the world of his endorsement of her before the election.
Some would say Japan-US relationship has never been this good.
But in the case of American global retreat, can Prime Minister Takaichi count on continued American support?
President Donald Trump's position is always shaky. This kind of unpredictability is part of his power. Therefore, Japan's position is getting more and more difficult.
Ms. Takaichi and her Liberal Democratic Party have strong support among the Japanese public. In the snap election, the LDP won 316 seats in the 465-member lower house, giving it supermajority.
No other Japanese prime minister in the history of Japanese modern democracy has won this big.
32-year-old Kana Shindo started supporting Ms. Takaichi about 5 years ago.
実は私は高市早苗さんに憧れて、早苗さんが総理になる前の写真なんですけど、同じカバンを勝手に特定して、その同じようなモデルの色違いのカバンを買ったっていうことがあります。日本の政治家っていうとちょっと耳障りのいいというか、ふわっとした理想論を掲げる人が多いなというふうに思っていたんですが、高市さんはかなり具体的に課題に対しての打ち手を展開して、
The strong mandate would allow the Japanese leader to push through her agenda, including on foreign policy.
She wants to really push her own original standpoints. First, towards the US, she wants to drag the United States to Asia, to let the US commit to anything in East Asia or Asia. But at the same time, she might still want to stick to her very strong, hawkish, high-handed posture against China.
Relations between Japan and China took a sharp downturn in November when Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi suggested in Parliament that a Chinese attack on Taiwan could prompt a military response by Tokyo. The comments drew a sharp rebuke from Beijing. Following the spat, all flights on 49 routes from China to Japan have been slashed, causing travel disruptions. Earlier, China had lifted a ban on Japanese seafood that was in place after the Fukushima water release. But imports have been suspended again due to the current rift. Yet, according to surveys, a majority of Japanese agree with Ms. Takaichi's stance on China.
Takaichi's position vis-à-vis China, may I say, reflects more or less the mainstream of Japanese public opinion. That said, certainly there is a concern widely held within the business community because many of those business leaders want to have good, commercially viable relationships with China.
Yamaharu is a Japanese seafood distributor and exporter based in Tokyo. China used to be the wholesaler's top market 2 decades ago, but sales have fluctuated amid tensions.
11月ぐらいでね、確かね、去年ねに北海道が、水産物がホタテがですね、特に解禁になって中国のメインランドに特にマキシムさんには、今回のあのような発言があって止まってるのは事実です。
The wholesaler has diversified its customer base to include the US, Canada, and the rest of Asia.
中国本土、中国圏がダメなら違う国、まして今中東だやれね、中央アジアだっていろいろなところからオファー来てるんで、 そこのオファーを選択せざるを得ないし、それの方がまだ夢があるかなと思ってます。
The other key US ally in East Asia, South Korea, meanwhile is strengthening its ties with China. President Lee Jae-myung had met President Xi Jinping twice in a span of 2 months, the last being in January in Beijing.
The United States has been asking South Korea to take on a larger role in deterring China, but Seoul has been very reluctant for understandable reasons. And most obvious one is its deep economic ties with Beijing. There is a certain hope that China might play a role in helping out relationship with regard to Pyongyang.
However, in the changing world order, Washington is urging allies to take primary responsibility for defending themselves. It hinted that countering China is no longer a priority. So, where does this leave Japan?
This is the kind of message from the United States to say goodbye to Asia in a sense. You see, just keep distance. All they focus on its own hemisphere.
Let me politely disagree with the premise. The United States is retreating. I would say it is the nature of engagement is changing. The reason why is that if you look at the recently released documents, both National Security Strategy and the National Defense Strategy, both documents clearly outline the Indo-Pacific as a priority only after the Homeland Defense and the Western Hemisphere.
U.S. access to bases in Japan are irreplaceable. I think President Trump does not have the deep commitment to alliances in general, perhaps that President Biden had, but I'm sure he looks at Japan and understands Japan is just really indispensable for the United States.
Continued American engagement is vital for Japan. After World War II, Japan adopted a pacifist constitution, renouncing war and limiting the use of force. Instead, it relies on American security assurances. But in recent years, Tokyo has moved to expand its defense posture by increasing defense spending.
Ms. Takaichi and her supporters might be pushing Japan towards somewhere where Japan must stand on its own feet.
Who else than the Japanese themselves could provide security to their own home country?
Currently, there is a heated debate topic around nuclear weapons. Japan relies on America's nuclear umbrella for deterrence.
For many, many decades, Japan has stuck to this 3-no principle of no manufacturing, no possessing of nuclear arsenal, and not allowing nuclear arsenal to come into Japan.
In February, Prime Minister Takaichi firmly rejected the possibility of a NATO-style nuclear sharing arrangement with the United States. However, she had earlier suggested a review of the 3 non-nuclear principles.
高市早苗さんを支持する多くの日本人も決して戦争なんて望んでいないし、核戦争なんて二度と起きてほしくないと思っています。ただ世界の情勢がこれだけ混沌としてきている中で、それこそ核の脅威っていうものも現実的に捉えられるようなことになってきている。その中でタブーなき議論を行っていくっていうことは絶対に必要だと思っています。
83-year-old Masashi Iyashima survived the World War II atomic bombings of Japan. When they occurred in 1945, he was 3 years old.
当時私は朝食後の時間ですから8時15分、玄関の土間で遊んでたようですけれども、爆風で吹き飛ばされたけれども何とか無事であった。ただ母親は日当たりのいい玄関の隣の部屋にいたために体中にガラスが刺さって、近所の看護婦さんに抜いてもらったと。
Today, Iyashima is part of Toyukai, a non-profit organization representing survivors of the Hiroshima and Nagasaki atomic bombings.
やはり唯一の戦争被爆国ですからね。 日本がそれを容認したら、もう日本が非核のリーダーとして世界の世論を引っ張ると、あるいは核兵器国と非核国の橋渡しをするんだと今まで標榜してきたわけですから、その大幅な撤回後退になる。
In the end, as the global order shifts, America's closest allies in Asia, Japan and South Korea, will have to balance security guarantees from Washington with their own interests.
Long gone are the days when the United States was strong enough to carry the globe on its shoulder like Atlas. However, when it comes to US-Japan military ties, they have never been this strong, sturdy, robust.
I hope Japan will still stick to the idea of the rule of law and some other kind of common values to support the idea of democracy.
At the end of the day, South Korea is within the US alliance structure, and still the United States has a lot to offer economically as well. But it is a task of policymakers to strike a good balance between security and economics, and I think that's the situation that Seoul will increasingly face in the coming years.
As Washington re-evaluates its global partnerships, what are India's options?